Some people spend their entire lives working hard, only to face old age alone and in hardship. How does that happen? And are you sure it couldn't happen to you? There are 9 types of seniors who often fall into painful, even heartbreaking situations. Not because they're poor, but because of choices made in how they lived, how they loved, and how much they gave without setting boundaries. This video isn't here to judge anyone. It's here to help you pause, reflect, and prepare before it's too late. Watch until the end, because you might already be ending the final chapter of your life and not even realize it. Is there any pain deeper than growing old, falling ill, and realizing your own children no longer care? No phone calls, no visits, not even a glass of water when you need it most. Some parents give everything to raise their kids, only to be abandoned by them in their final years. Worse yet, some children quietly hope their parents pass away, just to relieve themselves of the burden. It's a harsh truth playing out in more families than we'd like to admit. This video invites you to pause and reflect on what it really means to be filial. There are seniors who don't lack medication or caretakers, yet still live in constant suffering. They've been bedridden for years, unable to walk, to feed themselves, or even to move without assistance. Every day is a cycle of physical pain and emotional helplessness. No one dreams of this kind of old age, yet so many fail to prepare for a healthy one while they still can. This is your wake-up call. Good health doesn't happen by accident, and aging waits for no one. Some elders don't live joyfully. They survive through quiet endurance. With no pension or savings to fall back on, they're forced to rely on their children. Each time they ask for money, they face judgmental glances, heavy sighs, or worse, cold indifference. Aging should bring peace, not shame. Yet for them, each day feels like a reminder of dependence and lost dignity. Don't let that become your future. Old age should be spent peacefully in one's own home. But for some, even that is a luxury. They've given up their homes to their children and now move month to month, from one house to another, like guests in their own family. No privacy, no stability, no voice. Every relocation chips away at their sense of self. A life without a place to truly belong is one of the deepest forms of sorrow. Some choose to remain child-free, believing that freedom equals happiness. But when aging knocks and illness strikes, the loneliness becomes undeniable. In nursing homes, without family, they're more vulnerable to neglect or even abuse. There's no one to advocate for them. Freedom can be beautiful, but if you don't prepare for old age, the price may be a lifetime of solitude. And having children doesn't always mean security either, especially if your kids lack the ability or desire to care for you. Some parents find themselves still providing for their adult children who remain unemployed, unmotivated, and entirely dependent, instead of retiring in peace. These elders continue to bear financial and emotional weight. Sometimes, the saddest truth isn't having no children. It's having children you can't count on. Then there are those who, in their youth, lived selfishly, angry, reckless, addicted, burning bridges with their loved ones. Now, in old age, they are alone. Their spouses move on emotionally, their children have drifted away, and even neighbors keep their distance. The consequence of years of unkindness isn't immediate, but when it comes, it's crushing. As they say, we reap what we sow. Some parents give everything, savings, property, their very future, to support their kids. Out of love, they sign over their assets, expecting appreciation and care in return. But when the money runs out, so does the attention. Illness arrives, and they realize they've given away both their power and their dignity. Love without boundaries can turn a golden retirement into a silent tragedy. Others have children who live far away, across the country, or even abroad. Years pass with few visits, and sometimes not even a phone call. Holidays are quiet. Illness is faced alone. Some pass away without anyone noticing until the neighbors call it in. Distance turns into disconnection. And sometimes the most painful truth is this. It's not that you don't have children. It's that your children have forgotten you. Mr. Martin was once the kind of man others admired. By the time he reached middle age, he had everything many people dream of: a devoted wife, a stable income from his job as a college professor, a cozy home in the suburbs, and perhaps most importantly, a life free of the responsibilities that come with raising children. He and his wife fully embraced the Dink lifestyle. Dual income, no kids. They believed love and freedom were more than enough to carry them through life together. Each year, they'd travel for months at a time, sometimes to Italy, sometimes to Japan. They never had to worry about school tuition, childcare, or college funds. They lived entirely for themselves, carefree, comfortable, and content. Whenever people asked, "Who's going to take care of you when you're older?" Mr. Martin would just smile and say, "We've got money, insurance, and a solid retirement plan. We'll be just fine." But then came old age, and with it, something he never expected: loss. His wife, his life companion for decades, passed away suddenly from a heart attack. In one night, the laughter and conversation that once filled their home disappeared. At first, he tried to adjust. He hired a home caregiver. He stayed active. But the silence in the house grew heavier by the day, and eventually, he realized something was missing, something he couldn't fill with routine or money. A few months later, he moved into a well-rated private senior living facility. The amenities were great. The staff was polite. There were recreational activities and daily meals. But it still didn't feel like home. And more than that, he quickly noticed something difficult to accept. Seniors without children, like him, were the ones most easily forgotten. Holidays came and went. Other residents had children who visited, brought gifts, and even took them home for special dinners. Mr. Martin sat quietly, watching it all from a distance. He once tried to request a few days away from the facility to visit his old home, but was told a family guardian had to approve the leave and sign him out in person. The only living relative he had, a nephew, lived across the country and couldn't make the trip. The process was so complicated that Mr. Martin gave up. During meals, he'd sit with other residents. They were friendly, but the conversations always drifted to grandchildren, family trips, photos. Mr. Martin had none of that to share. Once, someone asked him gently, "Isn't it lonely living without kids?" He smiled faintly. Back then, he didn't have an answer. Now he does. It wasn't just that he had no one to take care of him. He had no one to belong to. At the facility, he witnessed other residents pass away quietly, some with no family present. The staff did what they were supposed to, called an ambulance, handled the paperwork. But what haunted Mr. Martin was the silence. No tears, no one calling out Dad or Grandpa, just absence. One afternoon, while speaking with a nurse, he quietly admitted, having children isn't about relying on them. It's about knowing that when you're gone, someone still remembers you were here. Mr. Martin doesn't blame his younger self. He doesn't regret the freedom he and his wife enjoyed. But now he knows the Dink lifestyle isn't wrong. It just isn't for everyone. Retirement plans, long-term care insurance, a beautiful facility, those things matter. But what hurts the most isn't the lack of comfort. It's the lack of connection. He ended his story with a sentence that stayed with everyone who heard it. Children are like that last umbrella when the rain starts to pour. You may not always need it, but you'll never want to be caught without one. At 79, Mrs. Evelyn was never someone who lacked anything. She had spent over 30 years serving as a dedicated physician in the state healthcare system. After retiring, she received a reliable pension, enough to live comfortably without relying on her children. Her husband, a retired engineer, had been her life partner and closest friend, until a sudden stroke took him one cold winter afternoon. Since his passing, Evelyn had been adrift in loneliness. Though she had 2 successful sons, she didn't want to become a burden to anyone. So she made a decision she felt was practical and dignified. She hired a full-time caregiver. "I thought it was a responsible thing to do," she once said. "I didn't want to trouble my kids. I wanted to keep my independence." The woman she hired, a soft-spoken middle-aged caregiver, seemed kind and attentive at first. Evelyn finally felt some relief. But over time, small things began to disappear. A watch, a few cherished pieces of jewelry. Then one day, Evelyn found the necklace her husband had given her for their anniversary tucked away inside the caregiver's luggage. The betrayal cut deeper than any loss of belongings. It shattered her trust. That night, she let the caregiver go. The familiar silence of her home returned, But this time, it felt heavier. She'd always believed that being independent was strong and admirable. But one day, after a fall in the bathroom landed her in a hospital, she realized something. No one can stay strong forever. After much thought, she called her sons. She didn't beg. She didn't complain. She simply said, "If you're okay with it, I'd like to live with family again." In that quiet kitchen, her words stirred something deep. Both sons were visibly moved. Her younger daughter-in-law, the same one Evelyn had helped raise her grandchildren years ago, didn't hesitate. "Come live with us, Mom," she said. "Let me take care of you, the way you once took care of us." From the moment Evelyn moved in, everything changed. Mornings began with a warm cup of tea and gentle conversation. Evenings were filled with laughter and the sounds of grandchildren playing in the living room. Weekly family dinners brought warmth back to her days. She no longer counted the hours in silence. She lived them fully, surrounded by love. One afternoon, sitting on the porch as her daughter-in-law gently pulled a blanket over her legs, Evelyn softly whispered, "I used to think being strong and independent was enough. But now I know, true peace in old age doesn't come from someone you hire. It comes from someone who truly loves you." Sometimes we spend a lifetime chasing independence, only to realize what we really need has been around us all along. Family. True devotion isn't flashy or loud. It's quiet, it's consistent, and it's priceless. At nearly 80, Evelyn didn't live in a mansion. She didn't have staff at her beck and call, but she lived surrounded by affection. And to her, that was the most luxurious thing of all, something far too many people grow old without ever finding. Old age is a final chapter of life, and no one wants that chapter to be filled with loneliness, helplessness, or regret. Through real stories, we begin to see the truth. Money, while important, can never replace the presence of loved ones, the care of devoted children, or the comfort of a warm, welcoming home. A happy retirement isn't about the size of your bank account. It's about who's by your side, who checks in, and who holds your hand when you need it most. The Dink lifestyle, dual income, no kids, may seem ideal when you're young. Freedom, no obligations, no one to answer to. But when your health fades and solitude sets in, many come to realize freedom doesn't always equal fulfillment. And sometimes having children isn't about depending on them. It's about knowing you didn't walk this life alone. I believe we all need to take aging seriously, starting now, not just financially, but emotionally and relationally. Don't give everything away too soon. Don't trade all your youth for independence while neglecting the bonds that make life worth living. A fulfilling old age isn't something that just happens. It's something you build, day by day, decision by decision. If today's story touched your heart, please leave a comment and share your thoughts. Hit that like button to help spread this message. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Together, let's continue this journey of living mindfully, aging gracefully, and staying connected to what truly matters.